Hi. Tonight I'm going to talk with Sean Gallagher about his purchase of Joseph Pilates' original Berkshires property, which includes his original studio, original apparatus, and country house, as well as many personal belongings.
Tonight we're talking about your purchase of the property in the Berkshires, which was Joseph Pilates' original property. And you and Kathy Norton spoke a little bit about that last night.
Yep.
So could you just do like a quick, brief, intro about that in case anybody missed it?
Okay. So I in the archives there's some film and photographs of Ted Sean and his partner Bart Mumaw working out, and and I sort of Norton knew about me, and we talked about all that stuff. So I went to Norton and to share. I figured I'd go up and say, I'll let you borrow this if you have something that I had a lot more than he did. He had a few pictures and things like that. So so that I could see what he had, because I just wanted to see. And then when I was there, he says, well, his property's for sale, and I think all the equipment's in there. And I'm like, no. And
you were like, I'll be right back.
No, so I said I didn't, I didn't know, and it had been on the market for like 3 years. So it was 90. I bought it in 97. So that was when there was a real estate downward deal, so things weren't selling. So it was a second home place and it just wasn't sold. So I went to he connected me with a realtor. And I went and I looked at it, and I went through, like the people who. So Clara sold it.
Okay.
To do that, they had to produce the will. Ooh.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's how we know Mr. Steele lied to the federal judge, because his signature was on that paperwork and for the will. So we know that he perjured himself twice.
Okay.
To the federal judge. So there we go. But
okay.
I just had to put that in there. Sorry. And then, so the people, and Clara sold it, I'm pretty sure she sold it to people who had been clients. And then they sold it to another couple who were going to like put a pool in and do all this stuff. And then his wife got sick, so that didn't happen. So he ended up selling it to me. And, I basically said to the realtor, I said, I'm not really interested in the property.
Okay.
I wasn't ready to spend, over $100,000. That wasn't like in the plan. But I was like, but I'll buy the equipment. And the owner came back and said, if you want the equipment, you got to buy the property, because it's been 3 years. Yeah. So I went back and I offered him. I offered him about, let me see, almost a third less than what the asking price was. And he took it.
Cool.
So I was like, okay. And he also took the mortgage, so I didn't have to go through the bank. So he ended up in the long term, because I did a 15-year mortgage, and he made all that interest. So when you do that, you basically double your money. So he made his money, he made more money, since he was the bank. But it was good.
All right.
So it worked out.
What does the property include? Like what's the history there?
Well, when Joe bought it, he bought 52 acres.
Okay.
And then he sold some to the power company.
Okay.
Because they were running the line, through where he had some of the property. So I think they gave him, he got set up for electricity when they were running the line through without having to pay for it. I think I don't know the details.
Okay.
And then there was another plot, like 3 or 5, maybe it was 6 acres near there as well, that they sold. And then when the Kimballs, that was the name of the people who first bought it from Clara, they sold, I think they bought it and probably sold half of it, like 20 some acres.
Okay.
And they probably made as much money as they did for buying the whole place, because it was a couple, so now it's 21 acres.
Okay. And that includes.
It says 21, but there's one thing that says 19, so it's not really 100% clear,
okay.
but it's big enough. It's it's pretty big.
Yeah.
And so and it when you drive up, there's 2 6-foot white cinder block pillars with lions on top. And when I purchased it, they were almost falling apart. So I personally went in and took out all the bad cinder blocks and rebuilt it, and put everything back together. And then because the lines, and I had kids at the time, I painted the lines like a yellowish color.
Yellowish?
Yellow.
It's
Lion color.
yellow.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. And then I painted her teeth white and their tongue red, and I give them I got really detailed because I was like, my kids, like real lions. So that's what I did. And then there's probably about a 900-foot driveway.
Okay.
Trees and all that stuff. And then you pull up. When you first pull in, to the left, there's like there's a old foundation. So I'm not really sure that was if he was building another house or that was his house. It's not really clear. And then there's the house.
We're working on that.
We're working on that.
Yeah, yeah.
And then there was the house that the Kimballs built in 1972, I believe it was. And then if you keep going straight, you pull up and the house is on the left. And if you were to go straight, there's a bungalow that's right down there, at the time. And then up between the house and the bungalow, up on the big rock, he called it, there was Jacob's Pillow, and he called it Jacob's Bed.
So now Jacob's Pillow, the term, it comes from a rock, right?
Right.
It's like a big rock there that Sean called Jacob's Pillow, right?
Yeah.
That's weirdish.
Well,
okay.
there's, the highway is Jacob's Pillow High, because Jacob, I think it's Jacob's Pillow High.
Isn't it Jacob's Ladder?
Jacob's
Road?
Ladder Road. That's it. Jacob's Ladder Road. So he called it Jacob's Pillow, and then Joe was like, "Well, I have Jacob. Remember him
bigger
and Ted,
rock.
right? I have bigger rock. I have a bed. I have the bed. You have the pillow.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure what all that the politics of all that was. So who knows?
Yeah, there's something going on there.
Yeah, so I don't know what that is. I don't know if I want to go into that. But he built, a 40 by 40 foot studio on a rock.
Uh-huh.
And it's the highest place on the property, and it's beautiful. But when I purchased it, both the studio and the house were locked and left. Basically, when they bought the house in the 60s, it looks like they just never did anything. They just, whatever's in there, they just left it, and they locked it, and they left it. And maybe they went every once in a while, but they didn't really do anything. So from 67 to 97, so like 30 years, or, I think it was maybe 68. So almost 30 years later, well, when you don't take care of it, and there's a lot of rain, and, there's not always sunshine, and snow and all that. Well, the roofs were leaking profusely.
Well, also, like, those are just wooden buildings. It's not like they had, like, siding and stuff like around it. Like, yeah.
Well, the siding for the studio was fine, but it's the roofs really where the issue was, because that's where all the water came in. And
but
so
I mean, it wasn't like it was like made of modern material where it's like waterproof or something.
Right. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, roofs today aren't waterproof either. So
okay.
Sorry, they still make them pretty much the same way. I mean, there might be some, they do, it's a little bit better, but if you let something sit and you don't take care of it, there's nothing that lasts forever, especially in the environment. But anyways, so there was also a little garage that they built for the new house. So originally I was going to redo the house.
Okay.
So so I went in and I basically, I took all the furniture out, and I started to gut it, because it needed to be, there's water stains, it was bad, and you can see the ceiling, it was all rotted. Once I took the insulation out, it was all rotted. So I was doing that. I had a dumpster. I bought, I found a contractor, and I bought all the wood that we were going to use to rebuild the roof and do everything. And I started to perk the ground. And the town came in and says, "You can't do that." I'm like, "Why not? This was here." He says, "Well, you only allow one living dwelling per property, and that's the house you're living in. This is supposed to be a hunting shack." I mean, that's what it was listed as, but but it wasn't. And you can see, once I stripped it, there was like a little shack, and then Joe added the bathroom, the kitchen and the living room, but originally it was a little shack, and you can see that, right
Uh-huh.
now, even.
Yeah.
So I had to stop because there was all this legal stuff, and I was told I couldn't do it. So I stopped doing that,
Okay.
and then 2 or 3 years after that, there was a really bad snow, like winter, and there was like 3 or 4 feet of snow, and the roof caved in because it was already rotted already.
Mm.
And I couldn't really do anything. So and you can see that now. The roof is caved in so that's what happened. So what I did do though, I was able to so I started to focus on the studio because
Uh-huh.
it wasn't a living dwelling. So that and I wasn't totally rebuilding it. I didn't have to perk the land. I didn't, I just had to go in and strip it. So again, I got another dumpster and I stripped it all out because
Mm-hmm.
there was ants that had eaten away a lot of the wood, carpenter ants in, one section, and there was lots of rodents and,
Bats.
nastiness and bats and all sorts of stuff.
Mm.
And, there was water damage,
Okay.
and in the studio, it had all his original equipment.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about what was there or is there?
So, sure. So when there was the original clawfoot reformer, there was a Cadillac, there was a massage table type of,
Mm-hmm.
right? That we have since reupholstered because that was massage table was sitting like right where the water was dripping from the ceiling, so that vinyl was just not good.
Mm-hmm.
But we found that it was really a repurposed bench mat,
Yeah.
which was kind of cool.
That was really cool.
There were some bednasiums. There was a high chair. There was what else?
A small
A
barrel.
bench, a small barrel, another smaller bench mat. Trying to think of what else there. And then there was, the bednasiums had the top part that you would put in, and then there's another pole that I'm not sure what it was from, but it was from I think one of the original massage tables.
Mm.
So there was that. He had there was a porta potty. There's kerosene stoves. I mean, he had a little bit of everything up there. I did dumpster the porta potty, but
I know.
later on, hindsight, could you imagine? Put it on eBay. Joe's original porta potty.
No, you don't even put it on eBay. You make it like a selfie spot, like
Right.
at Pilates at the Pillow. Like you could sit like where Joe sat.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good. Well, and the other thing is when I did the house,
Yeah.
I took the bathtub out, and that's outside, and it's the bathtub when there's the film of Joe and Claire, and it's that bathtub
Yeah.
because you can see that it has the same, you know, fixtures and stuff.
Right.
So there's just lots of, there was a lot of, there's
Well,
records, there's skis,
yeah, the
there's,
skis.
there's the shields, like there's the film of him and his brother fighting on the rooftops of Manhattan. Well, those original, and they had the shields. Well, I have the original shields. I have the sheath for the swords, but not the swords. So I don't know what
Yeah.
happened to the swords. And the scary part about the shields is that they're literally holes where you can, and it's not like a hole. It's like when they hit it with the blade, it went through and it punctured a hole into the shield. So they weren't like, oh, let's pretend we're fighting. They were
No,
going at it.
they were like, let's settle this.
Yes,
Yeah.
brotherly love.
Yeah, exactly. So,
So,
like,
all that kind of, and a
oh,
Cadillac. There was
and
a
the iron
Cadillac
shoes.
and the iron shoes. A matter of fact, the house, you put it on in the picture for today's.
Oh, it's actually for tomorrow.
It's for tomorrow. Is it for tomorrow?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
it
so
was.
if you look at tomorrow's picture, a little, you know,
Yeah,
promo. But if
yeah.
you look at tomorrow's picture, there's the picture of looks like the sun, right? And that's on the front of the house that the Kimballs built. And I don't know if they did it or the people did afterwards. But it looks like the center of it is like, which is supposed to, I guess, to be the sun. Looks like it's some sort of grate that might have come from a furnace or something. I don't know. It's got all these little holes and
Hmm.
ridges and something. So I'm not really sure what that is. That's what I just thought maybe that's what it was. Something from like an old stove or something.
Yeah.
A pot belly stove or something. I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
But then what they did is they used the inserts from the iron shoe to be the sun rays.
Yeah.
So you'll see that in that picture. It's kind of cool. And
Super
then there's a
cool.
bunch of other, that was the inserts, but there was also the iron shoes. And there was a bunch of pictures, and there's some archival stuff. There's a couple boxes of his books. So there was, quite a bit of stuff there. And there's
Yeah,
a lot
like
of
an
a lot of
amazing amount of
chair.
stuff.
There's, a lot of the chairs that the baby chair. Well, there's two chairs that are just chairs, but that they're the same as what was made for a baby chair.
It's like a baby
So
chair without the back.
right, without the back.
Kind of. Yeah.
Well, you have one there, don't you? You can show it if you
Yeah,
want.
I
Good,
do.
maybe at some point.
Okay.
So, that it was a lot of different types of chairs. There
So
was
much stuff.
yeah, lots and lots and lots of stuff.
So, a
And
couple
there
things.
was
Yeah.
go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, I think like from your description, this sounds like I think it's the most extensive collection of apparatus and original belongings from Joe that to date.
That as far as I know, that's the
Yeah.
most of. I mean, when you look at there's a number of bednasiums. There's the Reformer. There's the Cadillac. When you start at oh yeah, and then there's another chair that I had left in the
Oh,
garage for a
the
long
the
time.
best.
The other day I was like, last year I was like, oh yeah, I think we were cleaning out the garage. I'm like, oh yeah, there's another chair in here, and you're like, what? I'm like, yeah,
That chair is amazing.
and it's funny because on the back of it says Joe.
It does. In a little
So
pencil in
yeah,
handwriting, it says Joe.
so we kept that. We didn't wash that part off.
No, definitely
Yeah.
not.
So and
So
then
that's really amazing.
there was there's just lots of different things. So it was Joe's life for he was there from
Yeah.
48 to into 60. So about 15 to almost 20 years. So
Well, I mean, the apparatus is absolutely gorgeous. It's beautiful, especially
yeah,
that electric chair. It's like a work of art. It's like a piece of furniture. It's
yeah.
really, really beautiful.
Except
So,
for in the back
yeah,
where all the eye hooks were, there's like big holes, and you could know what he. It's interesting, Joe. You don't throw it away because the wood was basically gone, and you couldn't put the
right.
screws in anymore. So you just put a metal bar across the back, and you
You
hooked
just
it
hook it
onto
on
there.
there. Yeah,
Right. And then
yeah,
there was the cubby, the shelf cubby that had all his stuff, like
yeah,
stickers there's the Wonder Chair stickers that
yeah.
he had. There was all the different springs, some broken that were fixed, different types of things. And
Hmm.
so there was springs on the apparatus. There was, and so what I did was have all that stuff reproduced, when I had, we talked about that before with Rich Tone.
Yes.
I took care of all that stuff, but that's
So
where that all came from.
when you were like seeing all this stuff originally, were you like, wow, like because you didn't have equipment, did you? Before, like from in the archives, it
I
was
didn't have.
more.
Well, what I got from Weetie was little stuff. I got a magic
Yeah,
circle. I got the finger. I got the neck exerciser. I got a foot corrector. I mean, but I
right.
didn't get apparatus. The main apparatus because when he closed this, when he couldn't pay for the rent anymore in the studio, he took the apparatus and took it to different other
Yeah,
studios and
yeah.
rented it or was supposed to get money, different things. So he tried
So,
to
so you
break it
must,
up.
so it must have been extremely exciting, I would think.
Well, like I said, when I was talking to realtor, I was like, well, I don't really want the property, but I could take the business. I was trying to be, down
Yeah,
low,
but
but
luckily you did get the property because now it can be
well,
used for, really to fulfill Joe's dream for the property.
yeah. Well, I mean, that was the thing. It's like at the time I was like, do I didn't, it was like, I bought that. We moved out of the city and, got a house in Hastings on Hudson, right? So, I mean, and the house was cheaper than any, our second baby was born. So it was like time, it was like either get another two-bedroom apartment. Well, two-bedroom apartment, even then was,
Hmm.
$400,000 and we paid a lot. So basically what I did, the between the house in Hastings and the house in Beckett, because I was like buying a house and I wasn't necessarily ready to buy another one. but the cost of those two together was the cost of a two-bedroom apartment in New York City. So I was
Yeah.
like, okay, well, I was going to have to, if I stayed in New York, I was going to have to pay that. This way I got a house and and a
There you
summer,
go.
like a summer house
Yeah.
for basically the same price.
Yeah, that's cool.
And, and the mortgage, in Beckett, I think was like 900 a month. So it was
Mm,
affordable,
good. Yeah. So,
so that's what I did. And when I put that all, so that was one of the things. It was like, I wasn't ready, but I said, well, I need to do this. And
yeah.
so I'm glad I did, because if I
Yeah.
hadn't, and I've said this before, more than likely, either the people who owned it or the next group who bought it, they, that all that stuff was, I mean, it was really not in good shape. It was really, the equipment was moldy and
Well,
waterlogged and all that stuff.
yeah. I
So
mean,
they probably would have it would have been in the dumpster.
we have put, you know, you did earlier, and we have, and people who've come to volunteer have also put a lot of time and effort into the restoration of the
Right.
equipment because it was old and because of the damage from
Right.
previously. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I definitely, needed a lot of work, but
Well, everything did. I mean, the
yeah.
studio itself, I mean, again, I did all this. I went up and I stripped
Right.
all the shingles and the tar paper off. I had to rebuild half the wooden roof. Then I repapered it and I reshingled it. And then I had help, I gutted the inside.
Wait, can we add
I
this to your list of things that you can do?
Yeah, well, when I left home and I went to Montana, I used to,
Yeah.
one of the jobs I had was building houses. So I kind of knew what, I mean, and I worked with a roofer for a while. So I've done lots of different things. So
Yeah.
I knew how to, and is it like perfect? No. Is
No.
it functional and does the job? Yes. And then even the deck, so the deck, we finished putting the railing on, but I had another guy that worked with me at Richtone, and I had him come up, a couple weekends,
Hmm.
and we rebuilt the deck,
Cool.
because the deck was all rotted out. The
Yeah.
stairs
I've
were
seen that
gone. The
picture that you
stairs and
had.
the stairs and the deck was rotted. So, and then I painted it, and we had to replace some of the siding, not all of it, but a few pieces of the siding. So there was, a little bit of work that, a fair amount of work that had to be done just for the studio. And then in the last, what, 3-4 years, one of the things that I did was, I said to you, I said, do you think we could do a GoFundMe? And you were like, sure, that would be a good idea. So we did. And, I've invited, people in the community if they wanted to help. And we basically raised almost 10,000, and that's basically paid for the reconditioning and the redoing of the studio. So now it's available for everybody. It's going to
Hmm.
be a working studio, but it's also going to be a museum, so that it's not going to be handicapped accessible, because that's not the way Joe had it, and it's it's not a public, so so if you want
Okay.
to come visit, you can't do it if you're can't go up
Well,
and
I'm
climb
sure there's a
stairs.
way. So,
Well,
anyway, when you started the GoFundMe, basically teachers from around the world donated
yep.
towards the restoration because it
Hmm.
really is important for our history
Right.
in Pilates to preserve it.
Right.
So that was wonderful when everybody donated. That was really nice.
Well,
And
it's kind of like opening it up to everybody, and yes, I'm not, did it help me? Of course it did, but at the same time, I'm trying to make it available for everybody, and what it did, it allowed us to put a large part of the money that was raised was to be able to put new windows and a door in, because that's like was the most
mhm,
expensive.
yeah,
Because we also, a lot of people in the community have come in and volunteered for
yep,
our work weekends, where they can infuse themselves in everything, Pilates and the equipment and everything else. And we've done a lot. I mean, Holly, and we're going to be talking with Holly on Saturday, and
Sunday.
or Sunday, and her husband and some of their kids came up and helped. And her husband was, Jacob was amazing. I mean, he, because that's the kind of work he does.
Right.
And so he helped us do so much to get that together and put it together. So if I had I guess if we would have, hired somebody to do it, it would have been probably double, if not a little bit more than what it cost to do it, because we had help. So it's
Yeah.
been great. So
Yeah.
it's a community effort.
Yeah. It's really nice on the weekends in the summer when people come to help. It's like we sort of all nerd out together. It's like everybody is like, we're always like, oh, like we'll discover something or see something and be like, wow, like remember we found that desk? and it had like the cigar burns on the
Yep.
edge of it.
Hmm.
That was so cool. You know, we were all just like, oh my gosh. But it was just from cleaning it. We cleaned
Right.
it and saw that. So all those
Well,
little moments.
all those little secrets,
Yeah, exactly.
right? All
Yeah.
those little things, like, wow,
Yeah.
that was Joe putting his cigar out on his table when he was doing something. Who know, like,
Amazing.
whoa, crazy.
Yeah. 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 Totally. So those are really fun. Those are good.
Yep.
So now, so basically the studio is done.
It's 97% done. I mean,
Hmm.
what we did is, we stripped it down to the basically the beams. The
Yeah.
floor, Joe had put some sort of vinyl on there, and the glue was so good that I was thinking about redoing a wood floor, but last summer the um the cost of wood was so, went up. I forget how much, 200 or 300% or whatever. It was crazy.
Hmm.
So, and the other option was to do a sanding. So we sanded the floor. I sanded all that stuff off, and we redid the floor. Uh, Jacob and a number of other people came, and we insulated it. Nancy's husband came, John, and so those two worked together. When we were doing pillow, when we would do the pillows, the two husbands would sort of go and tackle things. So we got
Yeah, they were really
repurposed
good.
insulation. So we didn't get new insulation. We bought insulation that had been
Yeah.
repurposed. So
Hmm.
for the environment, a little bit better.
Yeah.
And then we drywalled it. And on the hottest day of the summer 2 summers ago, we insulated it. Crazy.
It
And
was crazy.
we put the drywall the ceiling. Joseph DeRuvo came and he did the ceiling.
Painted it.
Was painted. Well, he did all he finished the drywall, spackling and everything, and painted it. So lots of different help from different people. So now the ceiling's done, the floor's done, the walls are wood, so it's very nice. I have to
Woodsy.
the woodsy. We have to trim the windows. There is in the back. There's a little hole because I still have to put in the attach the guillotine. It was, we cleaned it. It's all cleaned up and ready to go. I just have to get it. That's one of the things I have to do is attach it. The equipment's in there. There's a Gratz reformer from True Pilates. So, Drago's. There is the Cadillac, which was the one that was without the legs
Hmm.
that I got. That was also from there. That Romana had legs attached to it. Little frame legs that you could then put it on. That's now in the garage, and that small the Cadillac is on the floor because the ceiling is low, so you can't
It
do
works.
right. You can't do the candlestick and some other anything where your legs are up in the air. But for hanging, I have Joe's original Cadillac, so we can hang from Joe's Cadillac, and we can still do all the other stuff on the one that's on the floor now, the way it was done in
Yeah.
the other studio when it was like that. And then there's a wonder chair, there's a new high chair, there's couple different chairs. So there's, a little bit of both. So you'll be able to work out on one side on the old Gratz, like from
Hmm.
at least the 90s, I
Hmm.
think. And when you look across as you're working out, there will be Joe's Reformer. And when you work out on that Gratz Cadillac, you'll see Joe's Cadillac, so it's sort of, and then when you see the high chair, there's the high, so it's mirroring each other. And then, I'm gonna in the back wall, I'm gonna probably put all his books and that kind of stuff. So it'll be on the museum
Super,
side.
super awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
When we assembled Joe's Cadillac
Hmm.
this past summer, that was a really amazing moment.
Yep.
I have to say, like to have that like put up, it was incredible. It was so cool. So I'm
Well,
really
and the
excited about that.
push through bar is different than all the other ones. Different
Yeah,
than
it's
Gratz's.
unique. Yeah.
Has the
Or
little
different than Joe's, different than
right,
Joe's other one, because I
right,
have the
and
other one.
right. And then there's the pillow, little pad for the push through bar. So a little bit of there's all these little things, and it's going to be really cool to be
Yeah.
able to come up and see all that stuff. And what I also have and what I'm going to be doing is like Joe's studio in New York. I have, when you look at the pictures and you see all the pictures on the wall of the famous people, well, I have all those pictures because
Yeah.
that was also one of the things I got when I bought the the business is I got all that's part of the archives. So
Mm-hmm.
all those pictures are going to be all across the wall, and there's the pictures from Joe and Clara's time, but there's also the pictures from Romana's time,
There's a lot of
from,
stuff.
yes, there is. So it's going to be good.
It is good. It will be also good. So now, what are your ongoing plans or future plans for the rest of the property or the studio, the museum, and everything?
Well, so I mean, the studio is going to be a working studio. It's you can, if anybody wants to come and have a session, they can contact me and let me know. And I'm not sure what dates or days of the week because now that I'm back on Broadway, I usually have to work weekends, so it'll probably be more in the middle of the week than summertime. We'll see. Haven't figured that all out yet. I got to try to figure that out. But that's sort of so they'll be able to do that, and if they want to, get the tour, that's what we're going to do. I have to, finish those few things. Going to get some Oriental rugs and put them on, like Joe's studio. So it's going to, as much as possible, look a little bit like Joe's. And
Mm-hmm.
then, except for Kathy's like, why didn't I
I saw
paint it
that.
white and the red trim? Because I
Sorry,
didn't really
Joe.
like that look. So,
No,
it's
not
a
good.
little too Bauhausy for me. But, it doesn't have to be exact. Maybe I mean, at some point there is drywall behind the wood, I think, or maybe there's not. That somebody else can do that. Later on when the wood needs to be redone, they can put the
Somebody else
drywall
can do.
and paint it red. When I'm gone. So, okay.
Well, I have to say though, we saved the red trim.
Oh yeah.
We saved it. Holly numbered it
Yep.
so that we know exactly where it went in the
Yes, we
room.
do.
So
Yes, we
we
do.
did save it. We were planning on repurposing it
Yeah.
in the bungalow when we redo it.
Well, or we were
Or
also thinking
however,
about putting it around the wood, but it's not going to look good. So we're not. I don't think we're going to do that.
we
So
saved it. We
yeah. So
saved
everything's
everything.
safe. Yeah,
We
pretty
saved the
much.
door. You changed the door, but we saved the door.
Right, the trim, and we've used the
We
trim to
saved the windows.
make awards. Some of the windows and things that we've saved. I've I put it on. I put the window up for auction so that people can buy a piece of Joe's studio and make it a picture frame. So you can get a picture and put it in Joe's original frame. So that's one
Yeah.
of the things that we do at Pilates at the Pillow is that I do that. So to help raise, and that money goes back to helping. So then the next thing I'm going to do, and what I've been working on, and just starting, I started last year, but I'm still waiting to get a surveyor because
Mm-hmm.
we're going to redo the bungalow. But that's a total rebuild. So that's going to be a lot more expensive because what has to happen is, well, first of all, I have to get a surveyor and come in and a lawyer and all this stuff to go to the town because there's a way for me to make it a bed and breakfast
Mm-hmm.
that skirts, because otherwise it's two
It's
property,
okay.
if
Yeah.
it's another
Yeah.
living dwelling, technically I'm supposed to subdivide it and then you have to pay tax twice and all that stuff. And I'm trying to
All
make it
right.
so that it's just going to be a bed and breakfast. So, come and
Mm-hmm.
sleep where Joe slept and work where Joe worked out. I mean, hope, make it a destination place for Pilates teachers from around the world to come and, experience that. So but the studio, I mean, the bungalow, he built it like they put a cinder block down and put it there and it all sank. So like the whole bottom is rotted, the top is rotted. So it literally is a rebuild. And uh, uh, Nancy's husband John, went in and measured everything. So we have the plans for that. So we're going to do it the same way, but we're going to put a concrete, you know,
Foundation.
foundation so that it doesn't sink anymore. We're going to do it right, a little bit better. And then, rebuild it. We'll have a bathroom and have a kitchen. It'll have, a little living room and a bedroom with 2 bednasiums.
Now,
And
will it have an outdoor shower?
it will.
I
There'll
would
be a
hope
little
so.
I'm going to have a little platform and put the little, I'm going to do it. We're going to do it as best we can. But, so hopefully this year I can get the surveyor because of the pandemic and the housing market's been so crazy. And, I've tried to get these guys and they're like, well, we're 6 months to a year before we can do
Right.
anything for you because they're so busy. And, what I want is not as lucrative as, the housing stuff, doing housing, I guess it seems that way. So, but that's what I'm going to try to do. And then work with, the town and everything to try to get it so that we can have a nice,
Mm-hmm.
foundational place and then rebuild
Yeah.
it. And the wood still viable, we're going to repurpose and use it on the inside of the house as
The wall.
the walls and stuff. So everything's going to be repurposed. I'm going to redo the bathtub. We'll get the bathtub put back in, and you can come and take your video and look like Joe. And I'm going to. We don't have the apparatus from the bathtub, but I think we can get one made, and so that'll be there as well.
It'd be cool if you took stills from the film and like
Uh,
framed them and put them like over the bathtub.
yeah, it would
That'd
be
be
cool.
fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
lots of stuff. Well, there's lots of a lot of things that we can
Yeah.
start to look at. So, and I've started a GoFundMe for that. So there is a GoFundMe for that.
Hmm.
And matter of fact, when the first donation was from the Australian Pilates Association, because we presented there, and then
Yeah.
one of the things that I did is I gave them a tour for everybody in Australia to be able to see the property and everything like that kind of stuff. So they donated, they because of that they donated some money towards to be they were the first ones. So that's
So
what we're
nice.
doing. So I'll
Yeah.
be putting that out there for people once we get it going. But so, and when we do the pillow, we also do fundraisers and raise money. So all that money that we raise will be going towards rebuilding the bungalow.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, my
So that's
favorite thing about it, not only, well, I have two favorite things about it. One is the preservation, right, of the
mhm,
history, but they also the more than that is the community around it. It's
yeah,
just so nice to like see, who comes for the weekends and who donates and who's, taking part and it really does, and I don't know, it just feels
right.
good. It's nice.
Well, and then once the bungalow is done, because there is 21 acres or 20 acres, whatever it is. There, and it's on the main road. I can do a little bit more commercial, so I'm gonna probably build a bigger studio for Matt and everything else. But one of the things I was thinking about doing is, there's an old, like the old uh, foundation. It's just cinder blocks. It's like a square. So I'm thinking
Hmm.
about maybe building a deck there
Like
and
your own
putting
tea garden.
a deck and putting a tent. So
Uh-huh.
like, and with, that you can lift it, open and close and put it like a heater in there. So, cause even in like August, it gets cold. So
Yeah.
be able to, have mat classes there, open air and, that kind of thing. So that's another thing until we get a bigger studio built, but that would be something to be able to do in the summertime,
Yeah.
and then
Cool.
just cover it up, put it covered up in the wintertime and be okay. We're ready to go.
Yeah. Neat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very
So
good. Okay, cool.
those are the plans, to really bringing Joe's dream back alive, which is basically, that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to have a place where people could come and train and learn and become healthy and all that. So that's going to be a great thing. And, there's, either the bungalow, if it's, it's only going to be able to hold two people. So it's not going to be like lots of people, at the time. But, if we build another studio, eventually it would be to be able to do trainings there, certifications,
Hmm. Yeah.
have like a nice, really good Pilates studio
Hmm.
in, and I have, I'm not sure what I'm doing with my studio equipment from New York. So either, if I don't open up in New York again, I'll open up there.
Cool. That's
Yep.
great.
Yeah.
Well, tomorrow we're going to talk about Pilates at the Pillow. Well, actually, you and Kathy are going to talk about
Yep.
Pilates at the Pillow. But to lead into that, and I've talked about this before too, but another great thing is during Pilates at the Pillow, we bring everyone to your property, which you open up to
Right.
everyone, which is
Yep.
very nice of you. And I usually the way we do it is I give the tour of the property and talk about what each thing is about, and then you are in the studio and you give the tour of the studio and show
Yep.
everybody the things that are in there. And the thing that's so great about that is literally what Joe wanted, to
Right.
have people from around the world come to his property to learn about contrology. So when we do that, it's like a really special thing. So it's great. Thank you.
So Angela's asking, am I going to be a country guy then? Well, I'm still probably, listen, I'm 64. I do manual therapy. You know, at 70, I'm not sure I'm going to want to continue to do all that stuff on Broadway. We'll see. But, you know, like I said, in the summertime, I'll be still working on Broadway and coming up a couple days a week. And so I'm not ready to be a country guy yet.
I thought you were a hippie at heart.
I'm the last. I'm one of the last of the hippies. What are you talking about? You're a wannabe hippie. I'm the last of the hippies.
I'm a wannabe hippie.
Yeah, because you were born too late. So you want to be one, but you weren't
Oh
born
my
at the right
gosh.
time. You were born after that hippie movement went on. So what can I say?
Okay. On that note,
Yeah,
I
on
think
that
we're
note.
good for tonight. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. So thank you to everybody for joining. Tomorrow, Kathy is going to talk with Sean about Pilates at the Pillow,
Yeah.
the
So
conference.
it's great, the conference and everything that we're doing and the stuff that we've done. So if you're at all interested, come and join us and get a little bit
Yeah.
more insight into what it's all about. So one other thing, if people are interested, on my Instagram, IGTV,
Mm-hmm.
I have a series called Joe's Stuff. And what
Mm.
I did this past summer is that whole cabinet was shelving. I went through each shelf every week and went through all the stuff that was there. So if you want to see some of the stuff that Joe
Cool.
had there, you can go to the my on my account, not this one,
Right.
and and go look at all that stuff. So that and
Yeah.
maybe what we can do with this account is in the spring and the summer we can maybe do once a week or something. We'll see
Yeah.
where we can give people to tour some stuff and show different things and equipment and stuff like that.
Sounds
Good
good.
features. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
All right.
All right.
Okay.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Elaine.
Okay.
Thanks
Thanks,
everybody for
everybody.
joining us. Bye.
Yep. I'll see you later. Bye.
Bye bye.